Hey friends, Pastor John Brayland here, the president at International Ministerial Fellowship, and I want to continue on today with another video to help equip you to be a better leader. We're doing these short videos just to help equip you. We realize that a lot of people don't like to read things, but you might sit and watch something once in a while, and that's awesome. So let me just talk to you today about how to work with your team, Sometimes the question comes up, well, what do we talk about? And if it's always all the same business, and if you're always like in a dead sprint, your team's going to get worn out. But if you don't talk about anything, they're going to see it as a waste of time. So just think of this context in whatever team that you are leading. I always like to cover 4 areas. So it's not every week, not every month. I rotate between these areas, and it helps give our team a good perspective, a holistic perspective on the ministry, and also not just that, but even helping them. So here's the 4 areas that I like to cover, and I cover them over and over and over, and not all at the same time. I spread it out. First is this. I talk about spiritual matters. These are matters of theology, or what God is doing in the world, or maybe what God is doing in my life, or how to read the Bible, or something like that. But if you're in ministry and you're in a Christian ministry, you're going to talk about spiritual matters with your team. Your team needs to know that you as the leader are growing spiritually and you have good spiritual practices in your own life. So I'll talk about that with my team on what we're learning, what we're going through. We do spiritual retreat days. We do 3 of them a year. I used to say, well, just pick a day that you want to do it, and you go, and then you come back and you tell our team. Well, I found out that I'm the worst violator of my own policy on that, because something always seemed to trump my spiritual retreat day, some urgent matter. So now we have our staff, all of our staff does the spiritual retreat day the same day, and then the following day we talk about what we learned. So that's just one of the aspects of the team leadership that I do. So I'm always going back to spiritual matters, spiritual practices. The second thing that I talk about on a regular basis is personal matters. Personal matters like, how do you manage your calendar? How do you schedule events? Personal finance, even relationship with your spouse or your children. Because your team, it's not all about work. It's not work. They have their own lives. They have their own interpersonal connections, and you as a leader need to help them engage in a healthy way in their personal life. That's important. That way, if someone on your team is having a struggle in their marriage, they'll feel open about coming to you and talking about it, or a challenge with a child, whether it's an infant or an adult child. You'll have talked about that in your team meeting. So I like to talk about personal matters because it helps people. It helps them to understand their own finances and scheduling. And what leaders oftentimes don't realize is we come to work, but no matter where you work, and everyone's so focused on the ministry, but their own personal life, it can get convoluted and messy, and it certainly does affect their work performance. And you as a leader want to care for your whole team, not just what they can do at work. So you care about them in their personal lives as well. The third thing that I like to talk about on a regular basis is resourcing issues. Now, resourcing issues are, okay, where do you find the pens? Where's the mailbox? Where's our staff mailbox? How do you use our staff phone directory? How do you use, one of the programs that we use here at IMF is called Salesforce. How do you use that? We have to equip our team on these resourcing issues. If you need this, where do you go? If you have a budget, who do you submit that to? So these are resourcing issues that just help clarify the different systems that exist in the church or organization. So at Freshwater, we have a volunteer center. So every weekend when we have our services, our volunteers all know that they can go to this resource room, get a name tag. We have coffee in there for them, beverages, snacks. But we need to tell them, because there's always new people coming in. We have to explain to them these resourcing issues. And we have to talk about it as a staff team so they can tell each of their volunteer teams where to find these different resourcing issues. It's really simple, but it's oftentimes overlooked by leaders. So find and talk about your resourcing issues. And the last is paradigm shifts. As a leader, you see a lot of paradigm shifts, but many times others don't see them. For example, a paradigm shift is when COVID hit, all of a sudden we had to go online if you're in church ministry. Well, a lot of us, we had no idea what we were doing or how to do it. That's a paradigm shift. So you have to talk through what a paradigm shift is. Or everyone used to pass an offering plate at church. Well, suddenly now that wasn't possible. So now everyone collects finances to fund the ministry online. So that's a paradigm shift. The paradigm shift is how we used to talk about evangelism and how we talk about evangelism now. A paradigm shift is what we used to fund as a priority, and now this is our new priority. A paradigm shift is a new vision that you might have for the ministry or new core values. It's a paradigm shift that you're making a shift. You need to resource your team and help them to understand why the shift is made, why it's important, and how it impacts them. So these are the 4 areas that I train on over and over and over with all of my teams. It's spiritual matters, it's personal matters, it is resourcing issues, and it's paradigm shifts. So I just keep this in the back of my mind. You should too. Keep it in the back of your mind to rotate throughout these topics with the teams that you are leading, especially if it's a ministry team you gather on a consistent and regular basis. This will give you a framework to plan your meetings well in advance and to help your team to be whole and to function effectively. All right, take care.